Welcome to Everyman Prepping, and it is madness out there. Shouldn't be a surprise to anybody been watching this channel for the last few days because, as I've told you, the Abrams tanks were coming. And just today, Biden announced 31 Abrams tanks going to Ukraine. I want to talk about that, what other countries are sending tanks as well, what this means to Russia, the Russian psyche upon seeing all these NATO tanks coming at them, and what this means to people like you and me preparing for what is going on. So let's get into some of these articles and get into this discussion. And before we get really into this, I want to ask you to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We've just recently passed over the 1,000 subscriber mark. I was very humbled by that. Thank you for everybody that has subscribed. I really appreciate it. I didn't think we'd get there this fast, but the community is growing rapidly, and I really appreciate all the support. Well, let's get into Biden here. So Biden approves sending 31 Abrams tanks to Ukraine in reversal. Yes, 6 days ago, just 6 days ago, the U.S., the Pentagon, Biden said, we're not sending tanks. That's an escalation. That'll get us into World War III. We're not doing it. Boom. 6 days later, we are now sending tanks. Now, why is it 31? I read a few things. A lot of things I read is, 31 tanks is a battalion in the Ukraine army for the number of tanks. Some say it's more than that, but supposedly 31 tanks makes a battalion because I know it's a weird number. Anyway, let's read what it says here. Wednesday, it's in 31 M1 Abrams tanks to Ukraine just hours after the German chancellor said that Ukraine would also receive Leopard 2 tanks from Berlin as Russia prepares for their spring offensive. Now, they say that hundreds of tanks are desperately needed, and don't think for a minute they're not going to get hundreds. I know this is 31 here, a few from other countries. We'll talk about the numbers in a minute, but they're going to be sending hundreds, trust me. There's an Abrams there. It is top of the line. Some of the concerns were, as you can see here, the U.S. defense officials expressed reservations about sending the Abrams because the cost, the maintenance, the long training periods, they're very technical, hard to use. Like I said, I was prior service. I was in the Army, wasn't in the tanks, though. I was in the artillery. Worked with the tanks a lot. And the Abrams is a beautiful machine. I mean, it's a great weapon of war. It is high maintenance, though. And it is a little difficult to learn. So are they going to be able to train them up in a couple months? We'll see. Will maybe a third party, like there's the Wagner group, will be a third party U.S. group, BlackRock, some of these other ones that will drive these tanks for the Ukrainians? Yeah, we'll see because it's hard. Plus, this deal comes with all the maintenance requirements for these. The Mike 88s, the big tank haulers, basically tank tow trucks. When these things break down, you got to haul them away for repair. The repair parts are specific, so they got to get that all buttoned up, ready to go. But if you think this reversal, the 6-day reversal from not sending to sending wasn't known before a week ago, it was. They knew it was coming. They probably already had the supply chain ready. They have the training ready. They're going to get the guys ready. So it could be faster in a couple months, but we'll see. We'll see. It says the Pentagon is also working through the fuel and maintenance requirements, just like I mentioned to you guys, and there's the Mike 88 vehicles that talks about the recovery vehicles that will be needed. Now, who else is sending tanks? Well, they said Germany is, right? It's Germany to send Leopard tanks to Ukraine because, basically the U.S. agreed to do the Abrams. They're going to send 14, so we're sending 31. Germany's going to send 14. The U.K. also said they're going to send 14 Challengers. So they're getting their numbers up. Now we have here is Germany's decision paves the way for other countries such as Poland, Spain, Finland, Netherlands, and Norway to supply Leopard tanks over there. So basically the floodgates are going to open up now. They just need a little opening. Now that's going to pour in. The heavy machinery is going to pour into Ukraine now from basically NATO. So a battalion normally comprises 3 companies or 3 or 4 companies around 14 tanks. Poland has also pledged 14 tanks. And there's what I said, Britain has done, 14 of their own. So, they're building battalions of tanks over there. Get them ready to go. What else I wanted to point out? I think I want to go here. So this is the full list of countries sending tanks to Ukraine now. So let's see who's all. It's not going to surprise you, by the way, but let's go down here and see what we got. There's a German tank. And this is a good way to segue. So you see this German tank here, this Leopard, and you can see what's painted on the side of it. So let's talk about the Russian psyche. Let's take a little tangent here of seeing basically all these NATO tanks coming at them in Ukraine. You're going to have NATO Leopard tanks, the UK Challenger, and the US Abrams tanks coming at Russian soldiers, coming at Russian tanks. They're going to see them for the first time. So when was the last time German tanks fought Russian tanks. Yes, that was World War II. The siege of Stalingrad. Russia just celebrated the breaking the siege of Stalingrad. Hundreds of thousands of people died in Russia because of Germany in World War II. And back in Russia, they teach history. They teach them what happened in World War II, what the Germans did to them, and how they fought back. It's not like the U.S., where now the U.S. history is watered down. Kids don't even, if they're in the public schools, they're not even learning about World War II and what happened, World War I, even the American Revolution, and how our country was founded. Not even part of it. But I'm digressing even further. So the Russians haven't fought German tanks since World War II. That's going to bring up memories. The Russians in the tanks now, were they fighting? No. They're probably their grandfathers and probably their great-grandfathers were fighting in that war. But they were taught about it. And they're going to see German tanks coming out again. That's going to put a huge pride into the Russian army and the Russian people. They're going to see Germany coming at them again. Yeah, they might paint over the German symbol, put a Ukrainian one there, but they're going to see the German tank. And it's going to be coming at them. And it's going to actually rally them, I think. I think it's a big mistake on the NATO side. And then when has the Abrams fought against the Russians? Never. Never has it happened. You've never had Russian manned tanks, with Russians in them, fighting U.S. Abrams tanks. So that's the first for that. So yes, are we in World War III? Yes, we are in World War III. U.S. armament is, we just sent. I know some of you are saying, well, we sent them HIMARS and other missiles and air defense artillery and regular artillery. But you know what? That's almost a fire and forget. You don't see it. You're not looking at the enemy when you're shooting them. When you're seeing the American tank and the American tank is shooting at you, you're seeing that American tank. You're not seeing a Ukrainian in an American tank. You're seeing an American tank attacking you. So yes, we're in World War III. It is now. It is happening, and you need to get your mind wrapped around that. But let's get back on track here and go through who is sending things here. So there are 13 European armies that use the Leopard 2 tanks from Germany, and a coalition of 12 have pledged to send them. It's not going to surprise you who they are. We're going to go through a list here. There's Poland saying they're going to get 14 again. Norway is considering supplying Ukraine with 8. They only have 35. They're going to give them an 8. They're going to give them a quarter of their inventory. Then it talks about, the UK and all that. So here's the list. So we have Germany, Finland, not NATO yet, Poland, Portugal, Spain, Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, United States, Czech Republic, Bulgaria, United Kingdom, and France. That's basically all NATO countries there getting ready to send main battle tanks to Ukraine. So you got NATO. NATO is fighting in the war now. NATO is, when these tanks, it might take a couple months. I think it'll go quicker. Some say they might not be ready for the Russian offensive. I think they will be. I think this is a little pre-planned and they just had to wait it out. But you basically have NATO now. Doesn't matter what soldiers are in those tanks. It really doesn't. That's not the point. You can have NATO fighting Russia. What is Russia going to do with this? Well, we're going to wait and see what they do with this. When first tanks start shooting on the battlefield, Russian tanks getting destroyed by NATO tanks, I can only imagine it escalates from there and goes beyond the borders of Ukraine, and there'll be other actions taken by Russia to fight back. They're not going to just sit there and take this. They're not just going to sit there and be attacked by all these countries and do nothing. I don't think it's going to happen, in my opinion. That's just not going to happen. So this leads also on to what I want to talk about is what's next. So remember when this war first started 11 months ago? It's like, we'll send them some helmets and some small arms guns. And then we're like, oh, okay, we'll send them some shoulder-fired stuff. And okay, we don't want to send them anything else because it'll escalate. Oh, wait, we'll send them some artillery. And then, now we're sending them Bradleys. Now we're sending them tanks. We're sending them everything, right? You get the point here, what's going on here. So what is next? You can probably think about it. That's right. Fighter jets, baby. So we can see here that fighter jets for Ukraine. Kiev is pushing for the West to break the final taboo. The final taboo is actually going to be NATO soldiers on the ground. But, here it says, the fighter jets and long-range missiles, the ATACMS, appear to be the only remaining military taboo left. And they might as well. They've sent everything else. You might as well send the planes. If you're doing this, you might as well just go all in. And that's probably what I think the countries are going to do. They're going to say that we've gone this far. Let's send the fighter jets in. And then, you already got the 101st Airborne in Moldova there sitting down there waiting. And, who knows what's going to happen from there. But, pretty soon you're going to have NATO soldiers shooting at Russian soldiers. That's just the way it's going to be. Okay, and just today, Medvedev, Dmitry Medvedev in his Telegram channel, he put out kind of a response to all these requests for tanks and everything and planes. And this is kind of what he said. He's talking about tanks and submarines. I haven't even heard the submarine thing, but he's mentioning that they wanted planes and submarines now. So what he says now, I'm going to read here from my phone here. He says, okay, the planes are somewhat understandable. True, and there are practically no runways left, and the Ukrainian sky is closed by us. But submarines are very strong, especially considering that soon the Kiev regime will have no sea at all. So that's what I wanted to point out, what he said. So there's no runways left. Okay, they bombed them all. But the planes will come from NATO runways. Will they bomb those? Maybe. But what he's talking about the subway, he says the sea will be closed. So they're going to close Ukraine off from the sea. What does that mean? They're going to close them off from the Black Sea. So that's what they're planning on doing. They're going to probably go from Odessa. They want to go to Odessa all the way to Moldova. They want to take all that country, cut Ukraine off from all its ports. They're going to be landlocked. And so he's kind of foretelling what they're going to go after. So, that's how it's going to proceed down there. Is there going to be naval battles? Is NATO going to get in there with its Navy ships? And maybe, they'll bring their subs in to do something. Who knows? I just know the situation is going off the rails faster and faster. It's escalating, weekly now, what's happening. And it's only going to escalate World War III. And so we need to keep our prepping. What does this mean for us? It's not going to happen right away, okay? So, I know the doomsday clock came out. It's at 90 seconds. Heck, that sucker should be at like 30 seconds. Who knows? But it's not like it's going to happen tomorrow. Could it? Yes. Could something they launched tomorrow happen? A huge cyber attack? Yes. But these tanks, it is going to take time to move them. Even if they got them staged, the supply chain is what slows them down. The fuel, the repair parts, the maintenance. I figure you got a month at least, maybe a couple months before these tanks start engaging directly. And then we're going to, see what the reaction is at that point. So you got a few months. Take that time now. Take the time now. Get what you need now. Finish doing what you're doing to stock up on food, water, medical. Keep at it. Keep it going. Do your personal defense training. Get your tools out. Train with them. Just make sure you're on the top of your game until we see what's happening with these tanks and where it goes from there. I know it can be daunting. It can be tiring to continue to do this. So make sure you do a little. Take a break, have fun with your friends and family, come back and do some more. And most importantly, share these stories with your friend. Share this video if you want, or just share the stories, but make sure your friends and family know what's going on. Make sure, the more people that know that they need to get ready for the World War III escalation, the better off it is. Even if it never happens or calms down, at least they're ready for it and they know. But we need to spread the word so there's not so many people going crazy when the food's out. There's, they close everything down. There's an attack on the United States shore. There's, financial cyber attacks, wherever it is. The more people that are prepared, the better off we're all going to be. And until next time, keep your ear to the ground and head on a swivel.